Good afternoon. I'm just going to pause for a second or two while a few more people join us. But good afternoon from me. My name is Suzi Bewell, and it's an absolute pleasure to be joining you, albeit virtually, this afternoon to talk to you about language learning in lockdown. So in a second, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to be talking to you over the next 3/4 of an hour about some of the things that I have trialed and have used well during language learning in lockdown. And some things actually that I continue to do, even though we're now back in lessons. Just in terms of housekeeping, thank you, Joe Dale, in the chat. Hi, and good luck. It's lovely to see so many familiar names and faces in the chat. So thank you very much for joining me today from all over the world by the looks of it. I will take a look at the chat comments at the end, and if you have any specific questions, then please do address those in the question and answer section, and I will aim to leave some time at the end to answer those. Okay, thank you very much. Now then, I'm going to start my presentation now. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. So as I said, my name is Suzi Bewell, and I am the owner of Polyglot Languages, but first and foremost, I'm a languages teacher and trainer, and I have been teaching languages, believe it or not, for the last 21 years, and it's just the best job in the world. Please do feel free to make a note of my details. If you want to contact me on Twitter, you can do so at Suzi Bewell. I also have a Facebook page where I share lots of ideas and resources, Polyglot Languages, and you can take a look and subscribe if you like at my YouTube channel or my website, polyglotlanguages.co.uk, where I will host this presentation later, and this will also be sent to you should you not wish to make any notes. So the aims of my session today, what I'd really like to do is share some of the key learning that I took from lockdown, but essentially present you with lots of practical and easy to implement ideas and materials, things that can be put into practice immediately with either little or no preparation, and essentially using technology in a creative and inspiring way. So things like online newspapers and magazines to enhance reading skills, breakout room tasks, Thinglink, Google Forms quizzes, Kahoot, Loom, and various other bits and pieces along the way. So to start with, I wanted to talk to you about online magazines and newspapers. I think aside from the general content that I was presenting to my learners in lockdown, some of my teaching was live, some of my teaching was uploading resources to Google Classroom and the like. But I'm a real fan of enhancing students' cultural awareness in lessons. And I think even in lockdown, that was still really important to me in my lessons. So sharing things like Un jour en actu, which during lockdown was actually free. It's a fantastic website for French teachers, lots and lots of video content, very short video content, and also some really nice accessible reading activities. Another favourite of mine for French is my main subject, we'll come on to Spanish and German in a second, is Mon Quotidien, which is from the people at Playback Press. And they also have a younger version called Le Petit Quotidien. Again, in lockdown, their resources were free to download, and you can always download the article from a year ago. So I had a look this morning just as I was putting the finishing touches to my presentation. And here you can see that a year ago today, on the 13th of November 2019, the focus on Le Petit Quotidien was Les deux premiers hommes sur la Lune. And then inside of the magazine, you have a really nice double page spread about 10 autres marcheurs sur la Lune. You can see at the bottom, there is a little glossary with some of les mots difficiles, and there's generally also a cartoon on the back page, which is quite nice too. For Spanish teachers, you have Mi Seminal, and this is just a couple of screen grabs that I took from a recent article on their page focusing around Argentina. And other useful Spanish websites, muyinteresante.com and also Periódico El Gancho. Some of these, again, contain video content as well as reading. And I think, again, one of the things that it can sometimes feel a bit daunting to do in lockdown, or when we go into sort of blended or remote learning, is how do we still encourage our learners to enhance their listening skills. So for me, these sites are absolutely brilliant for that. In German, not forgetting the German teachers Meine Woche, again, from Playback Press. And here you can see a common feature is Foto der Woche. So here we have got quite a topical link to Corona-Krise, and then something a little bit more comical on the right-hand side, the Strümpfe, who are parading around in France by the looks of it. So really would recommend all of those. Another one that I came across quite recently for German is Dein Spiegel. I'm sure most of you, if you are German teachers, will already know about Spiegel, which is the adult magazine in German, so very topical, up to the minute news articles. This one I love, just under €12 a month for a subscription. And if you subscribe using the link at the bottom, you can see that the content is very child friendly. And I think, aside from perhaps the Mary Glasgow magazines, which I'm, again, a huge fan of, I think to have an authentic magazine like this for the children to be able to access, maybe for the teachers to subscribe to, and then to share the more interesting articles through whichever platform you use in lockdown, is just great. Okay, so moving on now to breakout rooms and virtual tours. I can't say that these, the links that I'm going to share with you are mine. I've actually taken these from colleagues. But if you are keen to make your own breakout room, I would very much suggest that you look at the link at the bottom, www.genie.ly. The two links here, one of them comes from a primary colleague, the other comes from a secondary colleague. And I'm just going to click on these links and hopefully it will take me to that breakout room. So the idea of a breakout room is that it allows students in isolation, or perhaps in a computer room, to be able to work their way through a quiz of sorts and to come up with the code that will then solve the clue. So we'll just have a little look at this one, which is a very basic one in French, aimed at, I think, Year 2 learners. So press the start button, and then we're going to have a little look at the introduction. So it says, to get the reward, Tom must find out the code for the safe, which contains lots of nuts. Complete the 3 missions and write down the code number after each mission, as you will need them to open the safe. So if we keep going, so we're going to click on mission number 1. Are you good at greetings in French? Choose the correct answer for each question and remember to write down the code given at the end of the activity. So this one, there's only 3 very basic tasks. So what does bonne nuit mean? So the French teachers amongst you, or the French specialists, will know that bonne nuit is good night. So we're going to click on good night, and that gives us a tick to show us that we've got the correct answer. How do you ask someone how they are? Ça va? Again, correct answer moves me on to question number 3. And what is the French for goodbye? Au revoir. Yay, the first number for the code is 1, so I need to make a note of number 1. Let's keep going. So then I'm going to click on mission number 2. Are you good at greetings in French? Match the sounds and the English translation, and remember to write down the number at the end. Now, what I like about this is that it's not just accessing reading skills, but on here, we can actually help the students with their listening skills, which is just great. So if we click on the bird, clicking on the wrong animal, you will see, hopefully, that we have got a list, a screen full of English phrases and then audio. So I'm going to click on audio A.
Au revoir.
And if I want to listen again, I can.
Au revoir.
So I'm going to click out of there, and I am going to move goodbye on top of audio A, and that will disappear to tell me that I've got the correct answer.
Bonjour.
The next one is bonjour. So I'm going to click hello and move that onto audio B.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Good evening.
Bonne nuit.
Bonne nuit. I'm going to move good night.
Salut.
And salut. It must be hi because that's the only one left. So now I need to write down my next code, which is the number 4. And then I can click out of here and move on to my 3rd and final mission. Last mission to complete. How good are you asking people how they feel in French. So I've got to click on 2 of these and they don't match, so they're going to turn back again. Bad. Let's see if my memory is good. And you, was it that one? No, it wasn't. We could be here a while. Very well. Nope. Okay, ça va très bien. We've got a pair, so they're going to disappear. Mal, I think, was here. Oh no, I think it was the one next to it. So let's click on bad. So, I don't think we've had that one yet. So there should be a comme ci, comme ça somewhere, I think. And that was that one. How are you? And then the last one, we can click on et toi, and we've done. So we should have our code now, which is 143. So if I click on there and go to the reward, I'm asked then to put in my code, which was 143. Oh, it's telling me that it's the wrong code. Okay, normally it would work. Let's just try again. So here we should have 1, 4, 3. That's the end. Well done. You've opened the safe and you can collect all of the nuts. So I hope that shows you just a very simple version of what a Genie can look like. I'm just going to switch back to my main presentation. The next one I'm not going to show you in full, but just to give you a sense of what a different kind of breakout room might look like. So this one is actually from a year 6 colleague, but I believe it's based on the Studio One textbook. So here we have got a slightly different style. So it just shows you what is possible with the Genie website. The French President Emmanuel Macron is looking for the next French spy to work with him. He'll need to travel the world to find out information about other countries and to fight possible enemies to protect the president. Madame Lemuel, who's the teacher here, assured the president that her school in Monmouth was full of boys who spoke French and would like to be brilliant spies. She managed to convince him to choose one of you to be his next spy. You are now on your way to Paris in a private jet to meet the president, and you need to complete all of the challenges before you land and maybe become the most famous spy. So what I like about this, I don't know if you can see at the bottom where I'm hovering, but it says, would you like to reuse this Genie? So basically, if you want to make adaptations or changes, you want to change Madame Lemuel's name to your own name, then you can absolutely do that and save it to your own account. So if we start on this one, for example, you've got the sound there, which is just brilliant. And then we've got an introduction. And it says the French president wants to check if you'd be able to get by in France, answer the following questions, and complete all of the challenges for landing in France. You can just go forward so that you can see what the challenges are. If we click on the first one, for example, it says President Macron doesn't like people who waste money. He wants to check your math skills to make sure that you will not waste France's money. Listen to the song and work out the following sums. So the students would click on the video link, which I'm not going to do now. And then when they're feeling ready, they can then have a little look at the sum. So 25 multiplié par 4 would be 100. So I'm going to click on the answer, and then that takes us to the next one. Now I'm going to come out of here for now. We're not going to do the whole of the challenge, but when you do get the presentation, I would advise you to have a go and see if you can get to the end of that, because it's really, really fun. So Genie is the website that you need. I haven't actually included an example of a virtual tour, but if you go onto the many Facebook groups for languages teachers, you will find that many, many teachers shared PowerPoint tours of different French, Spanish and German speaking cities and countries, and again to enhance students' cultural capital, and just something that's a little bit different, challenging what they know, assessing their learning in a slightly more fun and quirky way. And breakout rooms, I don't know if you have children, and they're both absolutely love breakout rooms. They've been to a number of birthday parties where they've been with a small group of friends to do that. So it's something that they do in their everyday world, or pre-COVID, something they did in their everyday world. So I think it's a really nice task for them to be to think about. Now, the next link that I wanted to share with you is called Thinglink. Now, Thinglink, you'll see from the example that I'm going to share with you, this is just a very basic example that I put together for some of my learners. In lockdown, we were recapping numbers and months. So we were talking about birthdays, for example. And within the Thinglink, I incorporated lots of songs, a couple of cartoons. If you're a French teacher, you might have heard of Tupi and Petit Ours Brun, and also some worksheet links so that the students could get on with some maths puzzles. So if you are keen to create one of your own, the website is thinglink.com. And if I just click on this next link, it should take me to the Thinglink that I created for my learners. So hopefully you can see here, there are various squares. So I've taken a grid with the numbers 1 to 40. And when the students click on anything with a little target, if you click on there, it will pop up and say, how well do you know the numbers 1 to 40 in French? Watch this video and have a go at the numbers 1 to 10. And then in there, I've put a link to a video that they need to watch. So it's quite a good way of collating lots of resources on the same theme. If I click on number 5, you'll see I mentioned the Tupi video. This is just a very basic video where the students can watch an episode of Tupi and learn the numbers 1 to 10. If I click on number 12, we also need to know the 12 months of the year for our birthdays. And this one is more of a physical activity for them to do at home. Either do a dab, which they're all very keen on, or a Mexican wave when they hear the month of the birthday, the month that they were born in. And so it goes. Here we've got a little listening activity. How many numbers did you hear correctly? And then there's a link here, once they're watching the video, to the Google document, which is the worksheet that accompanies the audio. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a sense of Thinglink and the sorts of things that you could do with that. Now, going back into my main presentation, similar to Thinglink, I wanted to share with you something that I created using Classtools.net. Classtools.net has been around for a long, long time, but every time I go on there, there's new content. And what I like about this is that, again, at the time I was looking at food and drink, and I wanted to link the students' learning to regional specialities. I didn't just want to focus on chips, burger, Coke, chocolate. I wanted to make sure that the children had an awareness of food that was from different regions of France. So when this next one loads up, you'll see this was created in Classtools.net using the image generator. So I uploaded a picture of a food map of France, and then basically on the map, you've got various regional specialities. So I'm going to click, for example, this is making me feel hungry, on crêpe. And here it says, les crêpes, miam miam, pancakes. Did you know that le 2 février every year, French people eat les crêpes as part of Chandeleur celebrations? Find out more here. And then here, if they click on the link, it will take them to a video. If I click on moules frites, it says moules frites, mussels and chips are often eaten in the north of France and also commonly eaten in neighbouring Belgium. Find out what makes a good moule frite here. And again, if they choose to, they can click on the link. Just going to show you one more. Ooh, that's making me feel really hungry. Clafoutis or cerises. Clafoutis is a typical French pudding. It's made with cerises, cherries, but can also be made with other fruits such as les pêches, peaches. If you want to know more, click here. And if I remember rightly, this one will take you to a recipe. So perhaps encouraging your learners to have a go at some baking while they are at home isolating. Now, the next slide I want to share you is a Google Forms quiz. One of the schools that I was working in lockdown used Google Classroom to share most of the work with learners alongside live lessons on Zoom. And this lesson was inspired by a French native teacher friend of mine who lives in America. And she runs a successful languages company called Languages with 5 Senses. And she created a virtual tour using Bitmojis of her home. I'm going to show you that video clip in just a second. And you can see there was a link to the Google Doc, which I'm not going to click on for now. But essentially on my Google slide, I added a description. So it says, chez Madame Porter, at Mrs. Porter's house. At Mrs. Porter's house, here you will take a virtual tour of Madame Porter's house and will attempt to answer the questions below. Madame Porter is a French teacher friend of Madame Bewell's. You can watch the clip as many times as you like before sending me the answers. So within Google Forms, I then created a series of questions, which you can see some examples of on the right-hand side. And the students would watch the video as many times as they like, click on the correct answer according to what they'd heard, and then at the end of the form, submit that so that I could see their answers. So if you just have a little look at the YouTube clip now.
Bonjour les amis et bienvenue chez Madame Porter. Voici Oscar. Oscar est un petit chien qui habite avec Madame Porter. Il est très sympathique et très mignon. Alors, voici l'entrée. À l'entrée de la maison, vous trouverez la porte d'entrée, les lumières, un tableau sur le mur et on peut aussi voir les escaliers. Voici le salon. Chut, il faut chuchoter parce que Madame et Oscar font la sieste. Dans le salon, vous trouvez des rideaux, des lampes, des coussins, un tapis et une table.
Okay, I'm just going to pause there. So I don't think we've quite got time to watch the whole video, but it's just 3.5 minutes long. And again, if we go back into the original presentation, just go back one slide, you can see there that once the students have watched the different elements of the video, maybe stopped and started it within the Google document where I embedded the video, they can then listen to what they have heard. They've also got the visuals in the sense that the images are also highlighted in French, and they just simply click on the answer that they think is the correct one. Okay, moving on to online games such as Kahoot. Just this last week, I've been in the computer rooms, so I'm obviously back in school with my learners. But I think what I've discovered in lockdown is that in the past, I used to play Kahoot in the computer suite, or if I had sets of iPads, we would play in the lesson, and we'd play Kahoot live so that it would be where all of the students would be able to see on my main interactive whiteboard the questions, and they would use their own individual device to answer the questions. What I like about the people at Kahoot in lockdown is they've realised that actually that's not possible unless a student has a computer and perhaps a handheld device as well. So what they've done is created a single player version. So if you look at where I'm hovering my mouse, when you go into the game, rather than clicking on teach, if you go to assign, this will assign the game to learners who can play at their own pace. So the students could play at different times of day, and you can set a deadline. So for this one, I think I've set a deadline of a couple of weeks' time. So if you wanted to, you could actually have a play of that on your own. Now, hopefully, if I can click on this link, it should take me to an example. So this is one that I've played recently with one of my classes. So it's from my school, St John Fisher. And then at my own pace, I can play the game and answer the questions. So I'm just going to have a go at a couple of them just to give you a sense of what to do. So first of all, translate my mode into French. And then we'll move on to the next question. So I had to go at this earlier so you can see I am not quite as quick as my nemesis, Suzi. Okay, question 2. How do you say my dad? I've got an answer streak of 2, and I've moved up in the leaderboard. So again, I'm going to come out of there for now, but you can see just how easy that is for a student to do on their own device. But obviously a game that they're probably familiar with from their language lessons, but being able to play that on their own remotely is a real game changer. I also wanted to mention languageskills.co.uk, which if you aren't aware of is free from 4 p.m. So that is available in French, German, Welsh, Spanish, and there is also a junior version for younger French learners. So that's definitely worth looking at in terms of free content, just to encourage the students using games and various different online tasks. And not forgetting languagesonline.org.uk, which again is available in multiple languages. Okay, moving on now to loom.com. Loom.com is a fantastic website which allows you during remote learning, or if you are engaging in blended learning, to screencast and essentially record your voice over a presentation. Now, the links that I've provided here, one of them, Jodelle, you'll be really pleased to see, is from the free ALL TILT teaching in, technology and language teaching series, and it includes tips on how to use Loom and Screencast-O-Matic or Screencastify. So I wanted to share one with you that would give you extra ideas about how to cope with blended and online learning. So there is a language teacher colleague, Laura Corza, who's created this 13-minute clip, which I'm just going to click on and show you just a little bit of now. Let me just come out of there. I think that should be loading. Here we go. So this is a 13-minute clip and it's called 10 Tips for Blended Learning. So this shows you just how simple it is to screencast or record what's on your laptop or device and then speak over it so that you can actually deliver a much more interactive lesson to your learners.
Hi everyone, I'm just going to share with you today 10 quick tips on things that I found really helpful during blended and online learning. First one is uploading my resources before the lesson. This means that the online learners can access that straight away. So if I'm setting up in a different room, it means they don't get that loss of learning time. So I've chosen to do this in files on Teams. I find that that works better for me than OneNote because I want async issues. So I've done it by module first of all. Within each module, I then create a folder for each lesson. It's clearly labelled with the number of the lesson and with the date, so the students can find it very easily. They know.
Okay, so I'm just going to stop there just because I'm very conscious of time. But that just shows you that whatever you screencast is shown via the Loom video, and then obviously being able to speak over the video means that that would be great for students to be able to engage in some authentic listening. Now, moving on to the next slide. Hopefully most of you are aware of the Association for Language Learning. I am actually currently the honorary membership officer, so whoever I meet, it's likely that I'm going to be promoting the Association for Language Learning. But literally during lockdown, I cannot praise enough colleagues at ALL for all of the sharing and fantastic content that they dished out for free. If you click on the first link, Guidance on the COVID Aware Classroom, that's a fantastic document which has been uploaded to the ALL website, which will give you some a sense of sort of policy on what we can and can't do in the current climate. But also on the ALL London website, you can get a link to all of the recordings of all of the many webinars that were done during that TILT Technology and Language Teaching series. I've just done a quick screen grab at the bottom there of forthcoming webinars. So on the 25th of November, there is a TILT webinar called Super Teachers in the New Normal. And then on the 1st of December, a TILT webinar with Linda McLean, Lessons in and from Lockdown, My Bitmoji and Me. And then there is a committee meeting on the 8th of December. And then our January event, which normally takes place face-to-face in London, but this year, because of COVID restrictions, is going to take place online between 10 and 2:30. If you aren't an ALL member, I would really, really recommend that you join, not just because of the wealth of content, but also just to be part of a really friendly and sharing community of language learners and teachers. Okay, moving on to apps now. So some of these you may know, some of you may not. Aside from the work that I would set formally in lessons, I was also trying to encourage my learners to use their mobile devices to do some extra practice. So using things like Duolingo, and Quizlet, Memrise, which are probably more well known. And then another one which I came across recently called UTalk. I actually bought into this, so it is a paid for resource. My husband is currently learning Norwegian, his mum's Norwegian. So for Christmas, I bought him a subscription, and that's just been fantastic. So again, I would recommend all of those, either for your own language learning or certainly just to extend the students' learning of maybe a new language. Talking of learning a new language, during lockdown, I also set up my own YouTube channel, which sounds far more complicated than it is. So if you would need any support with that, please do get in touch. And one of my classes, my year 6 classes, in their final term of year 6, the head teacher had decided that actually, rather than doing a final term of French, he'd like them to do something a bit different. So here you can see a screen grab of my first Chinese lesson, and using that YouTube video to help the students to learn how to say hello and learn some basic words and sounds in Chinese. So if you're interested in that, please do go and take a look. But where it wasn't possible to deliver live lessons, using Classtool as a platform. So Classtool, as many of you will know, is a platform which is generally used for awarding class points for good work and effort. But in lockdown, lots of teachers use that as a free platform for uploading work, collecting in work, setting videos, etc. So during those lessons where I wasn't available to teach live, either using Zoom or Teams, I would pre-record video content. I'd just set up a Zoom meeting for myself, record myself delivering the lesson, and then I would upload that really simply and straightforwardly to YouTube, and then share that link with the learners for them to watch at their leisure. I also shared quite a lot of music with my learners in lockdown. I'm not going to click on these links again, just conscious of time, but lyricstraining.com is a really, really great website where, again, if you want the students to do some practicing of listening and speaking, they go onto Lyrics Training. You might send them a link to a specific video in either French or German or Spanish. And then most of the songs are connected to a game mode. So depending on their level, they would decide for example, beginner's mode. They would listen to a song, and then during that song, they would be presented with a gap fill exercise, for example, where they might try and listen to the song and then try and fill in the gaps as they go. So really good listening and reading activity there. Anyone who knows me outside of the things that I do in the languages community knows that I am a very keen baker. And so I also encourage my learners to follow recipes in French and Spanish and German during lockdown. Again, something very practical, so using their language skills for a real purpose. And the students sent me some fantastic photographs, which we put on our school Twitter account, and just a really nice way for them to exploit the language, but in a slightly more practical and project-based way. Here we've got an example of chocolate con churros. And then if you wanted some German recipes at the top there, we've got the allrecipes.co.uk website for German recipes. Now, when you think of TikTok, I think of my daughter spending hours in her bedroom learning various routines to cheesy songs. But if you follow this TikTok link, I think it should come possibly with a disclaimer. But if you use the tag Spanish or French or German, you could find that there are accessible and interesting links in Spanish, French and German that you might want to share with your learners. And obviously TikTok, I think, is the thing of the moment. It is the app that the students seem to be keen on. So trying to tap into their interests and perhaps share with them something that they would use in their free time. For audio recordings, I would definitely recommend the News in Slow German, News in Slow Spanish, News in Slow French. Free to access, no need for a password. And what's great about that website is that obviously the pace of the language is much slower than you might normally expect from a native speaker. And I think, speaking to my own learners, one of the things that they find daunting when we do listening tasks is the pace at which the person speaks. So I think that it's really great that there's a website that allows them to tune in perhaps once a week or so. Certainly with my A-level students, I do this, and just encouraging them to extend their vocabulary and just to get as much listening practice outside of lessons. This goes with thanks to the colleagues at MFL Widing School. During lockdown, they shared these fantastic links to LinguaFlix, which is a link to all of the different videos on Netflix, which are available for different year groups. So if the students in your classes, for example, are learning Spanish, these are some of the videos that they could access if they have a subscription. And then the same in French. It's nice to see the little prints there. And then if they don't have a Netflix subscription, it might be that they have a subscription to Amazon Prime. And again, looking at links there to popular TV shows and films that are available, and classifying those into different age groups, and the same in French. And then if a subscription is an issue and your students don't have access to that, then just giving them links to free content on YouTube, again, to extend their listening skills, but also just to enjoy listening to French with no particular activity, but other than to just try and absorb themselves and immerse themselves in the language. And here we've got some Spanish examples as well. Now, the next link I want to share with you was Guinness World Records. For the last few years, my son in particular has been fascinated by Guinness World Records, and we always buy him the book for Christmas. But I stumbled upon the website, and what's great, if you can see on the green link on the right-hand side, is that the content is available in English, in Spanish, and in German, sadly not in French, although there are some videos online. But I just wanted to show you a couple of links. So one of the world records here for Shakira, Reina de Facebook. So you've got some really nice reading content there, perhaps an artist that your students might be aware of from the Spanish-speaking world. And then here we have got another example in Spanish, and there's a lovely video link that goes with this of a bulldog called Otto, who is won a world record for skateboarding. So that's something a little bit more quirky. We've got Greta here, Times Person of the Year. That's a nice German example. And then going forward, opportunities to step away from the iPad. I think in lockdown, certainly as teachers, we felt it. I'm sure the students felt it too. Sometimes it was just really nice at the end of the school day to step away from the computer, spending hours and hours preparing lessons, delivering lessons, or engaging in lessons if you're the learner, can really take its toll. So I think sometimes trying to encourage the students to do things that are non-technology related. And I wanted to share this with you. There's a fantastic colleague, Mr. Francis MFL on Twitter, who shared it during lockdown, must have been back in mid-March, a copy of a Spanish Monopoly game that he'd created. And I contacted him via private message and said, would you share that with me so that I could translate it into French, which he did. And then another colleague, Ms. Dickinson, asked if she could do the same in German. So with the slides that you'll receive and that you can download from my website, you have got access here to the Spanish version. So you can see it's very culturally related. You have also got a French version focusing on Francophone countries. And then you've got the German version last of all. So I hope they would be useful to your students. During lockdown, I also set up, as part of my languages consultancy, a poetry competition. And I had over 200 entries. It was just fantastic. Teachers and students alike emailed me just by the start of May. So I think it was just after half term, after the Easter break, their entries. I had not just French, German and Spanish, but other languages, other non-European languages, for example. And I awarded prizes to 3 different categories. And the students simply had to create a very simple haiku of 5 syllables, 7 syllables and 5 syllables. It says here about your favorite French speaking part of the world, but it was open to German speakers, Spanish speakers, speakers of all ages or languages. So again, trying to set up competitions and things like that, getting the students to use their language creatively, I found worked brilliantly. Okay, so some parting thoughts, and then hopefully I've got a few minutes to take some questions. For me, technology, when used creatively, can really motivate learners, not just in lockdown, but also out of lockdown. Some of the ideas that I've shared with you today, I will take into my teaching now that we're back in school, which obviously is a very different place to be. And I think probably like yourselves, I've had a few days recently where I felt a little bit flat, or I felt that my teaching was flat, and I've maybe berated myself that my lessons aren't as great as I would like them to be. But what I say to myself and what I'll say to you is that, do you know what? I think we're all doing the best job that we can with the time and resources that we have, and in far from ideal circumstances. So please just keep doing what you're doing. And I applaud you for all of the hard work that you're doing to motivate and challenge your learners in really what is challenging times. My final point before I go to the question section is just to encourage you, if you aren't already a member of your subject association, they really are here to support you in these challenging times. You can find out more on awllanguages.org.uk. And I just wanted to flag up also that they have their online conference this year between the 12th and the 13th of March 2021, and that is entitled A Rich Curriculum for All, which I'm really looking forward to. So thank you very much for tuning in. Please do keep in touch and let me know what you've been up to in lockdown. All of my contacts are there. So at Suzi Bewell on Twitter, you can contact me via my Facebook page, Polyglot Languages, or if you want to access my website, it's polyglotlanguages.co.uk. So I think we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left for questions. So I'm just going to try and access the questions now. So I'm just going to stop sharing, and hopefully I can take some questions. So I've got a few hellos. Will we have access to your presentation afterwards? You will indeed. I sent my presentation slides through to Jonathan, the organizer of the language show, earlier this morning, and he will share those either via the website or certainly to attendees. Are there magazine or newspapers for ESOL learners? Yes, there are. So I'm not sure who that is. It's an anonymous question, but you can access magazines via ELI magazines. But I have to say, and I'm not working on commission, my favourite languages magazines have always been Mary Glasgow magazines, and they are certainly available in English. I think a year's subscription typically is around £10–12, and it is the best money that you'll spend as a languages teacher. So please do take a look at that. Is Genie a free site? There is free content on Genie, but you can also pay for that. But I'm not quite sure off the top of my head how much it is. If I'm honest, I've never made a Genie. I've always taken somebody else's and adapted it and created it for my own needs. Can we use this activity for different languages? I'm not sure what activity you're referring to, but I think most of my resources would be easily adapted to different languages. So Fatima, if you want to contact me direct and let me know what you mean by that, I will try and help you to answer that. Is this available in different languages? I think had I answered those when you were asking the question, that would have been easier. I love Madame Porter's video. What software was used to make it? Do you know? I think, Louise, it was mainly created using a pre-made PowerPoint presentation, and then Madame Porter added all of the animations and the Bitmoji, which is the picture that looks like her and obviously her dog. I'm finding it tricky to find creations that are made so I can adapt them. Any tips? I'm looking at who that is, N Fuller. If you join the secondary MFL Matters or Languages in Primary School Facebook group, if you go on there and search for Genie, I'm sure that you will find a wealth of ready-made resources that you can adapt. Can you get info on student scores if they play a single game? You can, absolutely. So if you set the game from your teacher account, which is free to set up, it will give you their scores and you can award points and rewards as you normally would. How can I get a recording of the session? That will be sent to you directly after today. Where can we find my website? So the website is polyglotlanguages.co.uk. Is Loom free? Yes, it is. Is Tilt part of AWL? Yes, it is. So technology and languages teaching was set up during lockdown. Joe Dale was the driving force along with Helen Myers and lots of fantastic speakers. So really great there. I think that's about all I've got time for now. Hopefully I'll be able to download the chat. Thank you for posting that, Jenny, polyglotlanguages.wordpress.com, or you can just do polyglotlanguages.co.uk. I've got about a minute left, so I think I'm going to sign out for now, but I just want to say a huge thank you to you all for joining me this afternoon. I do have another session in about 3/4 of an hour. So if any of you are available and would like to join me for that, please do so, and have a great day and a great weekend. Merci. Au revoir.